So I'd like to introduce our next speakers who are going to talk to us about professionalism, the importance of bar leadership, and the Leadership Academy. And we'll be hearing from Sarah Bolinder, who's with the Henry Latimer Center for Professionalism, where she's the Assistant Director. We'll also be hearing from Melanie Griffin, former president of the YLD, now with Dean Mead in Tampa, and she is the Leadership Academy Committee Vice Chair. So welcome.
As you heard, I'm the Assistant Director of the Henry Latimer Center for Professionalism. I'm thrilled to talk to you about professionalism today. Unfortunately, I have to start, as I do with most of my professionalism discussions, about where we are right now in the profession. And I hate to do it because it always comes across as so negative when I throw out these statistics. But I look at it more like we have to know where we're at in order to know where we're going. So it's just a reality of our situation currently. So, as attorneys, unfortunately, attorneys are 3 times more likely to take their own life than members of the general public. 1 out of every 3 attorneys currently will suffer from a serious mental disorder in their time as an attorney. 1 out of every 5 attorneys suffers from a substance abuse issue. And perhaps most disturbing of all the statistics for me personally, veteran attorneys, 70%, if they could have it to do all over again, would go back and do things differently. They would not be lawyers. We have the highest job dissatisfaction of any profession, yeah. So I don't do that to be negative Nancy, right, to start off with negative. But this is all good because now that we know where we're at, we know what we can do, and we're going to attack professionalism from different fronts, which I know Don will like because that's a military reference, right? So what are we doing about professionalism? Well, the Henry Latimer Center was created about 20 years ago, and when it was created, it was kept in mind that it would work closely with the Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism, which is an active commission, and they are chaired by Justice Fred R. Lewis. Currently, they're working on professionalism panels at each circuit. Does everybody know about the panels? Yes, okay. Each circuit now has an active panel, and the idea behind the panels is that they'd be able to deal with professionalism issues on a more informal local level. And so the Supreme Court Commission, when it meets 2 or 3 times a year, and it has about 40 attorneys and lawyers, that's their focus right now. We also have the Florida Bar Standing Committee on Professionalism. That's made up of around 40 to 50 attorneys and judges. And their goal, they're separated into working groups, and they're given goals for the year to promote professionalism. One of those might be of interest to you. It is the awards working group. So this is an area where maybe in your sections, if you have an idea of a project that you're doing, we have a group professionalism award. You see that as the 3rd one here. That's a great way to highlight any professionalism programming you're doing in your section. If you want to put that up for nomination, we accept nominations through February and close on February 15th. Last year, the Orange County won the group award for an innovative new attorney boot camp that they do there over a 2-day period. So we're looking to highlight really innovative professionalism programming so we can encourage other groups to take up the mantle and use that programming. Okay, and then this is the part of the program where you say, well, Sarah, what can you do for us? And I answer you resoundingly with it, we can do awesome things for you, right? Each section, a lot of what we do at the center is geared in programming for professionalism. So we offer canned programs that have been pre-approved for CLE credit because we know that every 3 years, we as attorneys have to get at least 5 credits of professionalism, ethics, or bias elimination. Well, our center gives a canned presentation. It can be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. I've taught in bankruptcy. I've taught at the Jax Federal Association. We can tailor our programming to meet the needs of your section. What we are focusing on now, though, and what we're really excited about at the center is more interactive programming that's based in soft skills and professionalism competency training that the Fortune 500 companies have been doing now for years. About 80% of them actually embrace the professionalism training such as DISC or emotional intelligence. So we're infusing that into our programming, and when we come out, we actually have interactive professionalism assessments, discussion about emotional intelligence that we can do, discussion about DISC, so that we're encouraging professionalism from a single standpoint, from an individual's inside out kind of promotion of professionalism, as opposed to getting up and speaking about these rules are this, and this is what happens if you violate them, which can, put a lot of us to sleep. So we still do hit what we have to in terms of the rules, but we're trying to make it more innovative. Now, if you want us to do a program, contact the center. We're more than willing to do that. The other option, and just if you want my contact, it's S. Bolinder. That's B as in boy, O-L-I-N, D as in dog, E-R, at floridabar.org. I'll get back to you quickly. The other option is for you to put on the programming from within your CLEs. I will give you a word of warning here. When the Professionalism Center was created 20 years ago, there's a requirement that all professionalism CLEs have an interactive component. And we actually have to review those CLEs and give the credit. So we're always looking, does it have an interactive component? So what I would recommend is we have guidelines for what is interactive, and they're on our website. If you go to the Florida Bar's main page, up at the right-hand corner, it'll say Professionalism. Click on there, and we have a CLE tab that will give you the guidelines, but you definitely want to make it an interactive component. We see a lot of submissions without interactive components. What else we can do for you is we offer a quarterly newsletter, and we're excited about this newsletter. It's kind of been revamped over the last year. We have themes now, and each quarter we have a professionalism competency theme. So you can see here we did emotional intelligence on one of ours, finding your authentic self. The one that's coming out in the next couple weeks is going to be on communication styles. So we are trying to give you tools that are going to help your sections perform better as teams. And you can sign up for a subscription by just sending me an email. And then we also offer in our newsletter ad space. So if you have any kind of interactive programming that you want to highlight, we have an upcoming events section. You can see it on the left side. We'll work with you to create an advertisement to go into the newsletter. Just again, let me know. And then we also have the Henry Latimer Library Guide, which launched this year, and it's kind of like the newsletter and our programming all rolled up into one interactive component. So you can go over to the library guide, and we have subtopics, and then we have, because I know we're all really busy professionals who, as much as we might want to find time to read books on the different professional competencies, it might be easier to just click a video. What's emotional intelligence all about? Let me just watch this 10-minute video. We're putting those up for you to see, so you can have an easy way to get more knowledge about professionalism. And then last, and Melanie's going to be talking a little bit more about this as she comes up, we're really excited about partnering with the Leadership Academy in this kind of aspect. But on our website, we have a mentoring toolbox. And so what you have is a place where you can go and pretty much download everything you need from start to finish on starting a mentoring program. And we want to do a little bit more of that, and Melanie will be talking about that in just a moment. But that's also on our website, and it's under our mentoring section. Does anybody have any questions for me about what the center does? Yeah? Okay. All right, well, I'll hand it over to Melanie, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Sarah. As Kevin said, I'm Melanie Griffin. I am the managing shareholder at Dean Mead's office in Tampa, Florida, and also currently serve as the vice chair of the Florida Bar Leadership Academy Committee. Juliet Rulak, who is fabulous, is our ever fearless chair this year. She unfortunately had a very good friend's wedding and could not attend today. I recognize that I have the unfortunate position of being right after lunch, like Bill said, when you're sleepy, and I have learned that a way to ingratiate myself to audiences is to butter you up with treats. So what I did this morning was to Google the top 10 desserts in Tallahassee, and what I learned is that Miss Barbara apparently makes the most fabulous southern peanut brittle. So I brought a variety of treats, and you may be thinking, well, she just said they had lunch, I'm full. It's not that I'm blonde, I remember that, but I also know that you have to go home at 3:45, and by then, trust me, you're gonna be hungry. So I got individually wrapped treats, there's a variety, and I'm gonna pass these around. So take one, pass them down for your car trip home, and then look really enthralled with my presentation. Sorry, up here. Okay, So I have the fun job of working with these fabulous fellows right here from the Leadership Academy, and you are just going to be so proud when you hear about all that the Academy is accomplishing. And I want to start from square one and not assume that you know what the Academy is. Now, some of you do, because I actually see former fellows, Whitney and Mike, sitting in the audience. So you're going to be getting a repeat of what your years were like. Some of you, it may be a new concept. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. As you may or may not know, the Leadership Academy was established under Gene Pettis's administration 3 years ago. He enlisted the help of former Senior Board of Governors member Renee Thompson, and together they created the Florida Bar Leadership Academy. How many of you have gone through a program like Leadership Florida, Leadership Tallahassee, Leadership Miami? Okay, about a third of you. It's very similar to those programs where we are focused on topics that are important to the Florida Bar. So just like you're getting an overview, you're getting an inside scoop. I saw someone post on social media this morning that you all were learning how the sausage is made, so to speak. The Academy Fellows are getting that same opportunity. So they're learning about communications, budgets, what are the various sections. They are learning about your committees and sections and how they can get involved and be a part of your groups. And so the idea with the Academy is that we are also targeting an underserved population of the Florida Bar. It was established really for two reasons. One is that there were a lack of diverse people getting involved in the Florida Bar when we were looking at its major groups. Like the Senior Board of Governors, you didn't tend to see a lot of women or minority representation. The other thing, and if you look around this room, it's evident. We see a few younger people, but if you think about it, we tend to kind of lose people in that gap of like 36 to 50-ish, and that's a bit of a random age range or arbitrary age range, but once you graduate from the young lawyers and you no longer have those leadership opportunities, you're not necessarily primed to be chair of a section or to be leading a committee. And so there's not really a lot for those folks to still be doing, even though they very much want to be a part of the Florida Bar. So while it's not a requirement that you are diverse or that you fall into that age range, we have people who are younger and older participating in the Academy, and we have people from traditional firms or more traditional backgrounds that participate in the Academy. The idea is that we will help pull everyone up and get them involved in the Florida Bar. And you're going to be excited to hear that it's been working. I'll get to that in just a minute. But that's really what we are targeting through the Leadership Academy. When it first started, we were taking about 60 to 70 applicants per year. It was fairly large, and we were breaking the Academy into what we called two different divisions, the North Branch and the South Branch. And so the Academy meets approximately 6 times per year. When we take a new class of fellows, they meet for the first time at the annual convention that you all attend as well, so they get to participate and see that major function of the Florida Bar at its major meeting. They then come to the Voluntary Bar Leaders Conference, and then after that, they have standalone meetings just like you do with your sections and committees. And so with those standalone meetings, when we originally had the North Branch and the South Branch for the first 2 years of the Academy, then the fellows would split up. And so the North Branch would meet in the North and the South Branch would meet in the South part of the state. And so what we found was that the fellows actually hated that. Could you imagine if the business law section, instead of everybody meeting in Naples over September, that Labor Day weekend, if you only had half of your section there and everybody else was going to go to a different meeting in the North, the fellows felt the same way. They felt like they were missing getting to see half of their friend or contact group, which was a big part of why they joined the Academy in the first place, to make those statewide connections, either for their own professional development and or for that of their business to recruit work in the future. And so what we did then last year was the 3rd year of the Academy. It was the first year that we combined then the sections, and everybody met together all year long, and the fellows absolutely loved it. With that, though, we also then have reduced class size for 2 reasons. So we now, this year, it'll be our 4th year in the program. This is going to be class 4, and we now have about 40 fellows. The reason for that is that we found that was kind of the optimal size for bonding and the fellows really getting to know each other throughout the year. And then also there are scholarship opportunities available. And so I want to make sure that I pointed that out on our website. If we go to the, on this page, you'll see where it has apply, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But it also has has here scholarship opportunities. And you'll see that under our scholarship opportunities that the fellows, again, we're trying to get a diverse population involved. And so if you work for a larger firm like a Greenberg Charig or a Foley and Lardner or whomever, and you have funds at your disposal, of course, we would love to have applicants that are able to pay their way for the program. But if not, say that you're a government attorney, we found that was an underserved population serving in leadership roles at the Florida Bar, then there are full impartial scholarships that are available for those fellows to then get involved and have the financial aid that they need to participate. And so that was another reason for then cutting down the number. We found that we were so successful at recruiting diverse applicants that there were a large number of scholarships that were needed. And so to make the program affordable for the Florida Bar and its members, the class size again was reduced to 40. And we found that again is the optimal size for networking and bonding. So I want to tell you two last things before opening up to any questions you may have. I want to tell you what we've accomplished and how you can help. So to what you've accomplished, you should be really proud of the Leadership Academy. And I was actually disheartened to see a somewhat negative article about the Academy I think it was about a month ago. And so I wanted to make sure I dispelled those rumors that the Academy has been very successful in its goal. So our goal was to get diverse people involved who had previously been underserved. With that, and this is kind of a long list, and so I went ahead and grouped them as opposed to reading people off individually. But with just 3 classes under our belt, we now have, so you have Mike Schmid, who's the chair of the government lawyers, as well as Lonjay Rivers, who's the government lawyers secretary, and Kimra Major Norris, who is the chair of the intellectual property section. So you have 2 fellows who are now serving as chair of sections. We have several people who serve on the Young Lawyers Division Board of Governors, and if I remember correctly, I think there's now 5 former fellows serving on the senior Board of Governors. We have Pro Bono Service Award winners, Bar Association leadership, including presidents and president-elects, several people who have now completed their board certifications, and I know that's been a topic of concern about those going down in the Florida Bar recently. That's something that we've worked very hard to educate our fellows about in the last 3 years. Diversity Award winners, the president of the Virgil Hawkins Statewide Bar Association, as well as our very own Whitney, who is the Attorney of the Year for the Daily Business Review. So a lot of these things are happening, surely not solely just because the Academy, but I do think the Academy is playing a very large role because that's what we hear from our fellows, is that if they had not received the education, whether it be from learning about the educational opportunities and or just being empowered to know that they can run or that there are people like you who want to support them getting involved in your sections and committees, that they wouldn't have taken advantage of those opportunities. So we're really excited that we said that our mission was to get our fellows more involved in the Florida Bar, and that, as you can see from that list of accomplishments, it's actually happening. So one additional thing that we are accomplishing, and Sarah noted this, was about our class project. Each Academy class is tasked with completing a project in small groups throughout the year. So again, we have 40 fellows. This year, we're breaking them into 8 teams of 5. And to make that tangible, this year, we are working with the center on training the fellows to make materials that can then be used to go out in the community and educate, whether it be bar members and or non-bar members, about important legal topics affecting the profession. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with benchmarks, and there may have even been a presentation on it earlier today, but that's the similar concept, that we will have lawyers who are trained in creating materials that can then be repurposed and used in the community to continue to promote the profession. So then finally, how you can help with the Academy. The first piece is just identifying folks. Certainly we only have the Academy if we have fellows. And so you encouraging people to apply, a lot of times, you all most likely sitting in these chairs are self-starters. You knew you wanted to be chair of your section, you made that happen. Some people need a bit more of a push. And so we've had several of our fellows that have said they have applied because, Kevin, the chair of their section, asked them to specifically apply. So if you see someone who's a rock star, who would be great, for the academy, a good thing to do would be to recommend that they actually apply. The application process pretty much tracks the committee process that Bill just talked about. So applications typically are released in the late fall and then due somewhere around January 15th at the same time as committee appointments are due. So, or the applications for committee appointments are due. So that's the timeline that you'll be looking for applications to come out later this fall and be due in January. So encouraging folks. Again, the ideal applicant is someone who's not necessarily in their first year of practice, who does have some leadership under their belt, whether it's with their local bar association or in the community, but someone then who's transitioning, who you see as being a future Florida bar leader, whether it's of a section or division or the next Florida bar president. So someone in that in between, we're really helping them bridge from the local to the statewide to get to know more about the Florida bar. The second thing that you can do is to help them fill out the application well. And what I mean by that, and I actually wanted to scroll, and so here is our Leadership Academy. I think this is the application. Yeah, so you'll see here, so you have it right on our website so that you can reference it. The new application, this one is for last year. The new application will be uploaded later this fall. But we have a selection committee that goes through and reads those applications. And we try very hard to limit our comments to the content of the application itself. Because the idea is that if Melanie is in the room and I know someone who applied, I know Zach and he has this application, it's not fair if I can advocate for Zach, but not the other 99 people who applied, to give extraneous information. So we really try hard to make it fair for everybody who applied, to really limit it to the content of the application. And with that, we've had stellar classes. It's so hard to choose our top applicants, but we also know that from some of the applications we've seen that some of the people are much more, say, vibrant or well-rounded than the information they're providing to us on their application. They may be providing more of a skimpy application. We know there are other accomplishments, but because we're trying to make it a fair playing field, we're really limiting our decisions to that application. So if you can help identify people and then also stress to them that, they should spend the necessary time on their application, letting us know why they are qualified for the academy. And the last thing before I take any questions you may or may not have, hopefully I've done a good job of covering everything, if I can figure out how to go backwards, is that we, like the center, have a newsletter. And so if you go here, hold on, I saw it earlier. I promise that somewhere on this page, and of course, if I'm up here, I can't find it. Somewhere on, there it is. If you would like to receive our quarterly e-newsletter, please follow this link for sign up, and this will take you to a Florida Bar staff member's email address. Well, if you're at work, working on my phone earlier, but you'll see that it's going to do a startup here. But that will take you to a Florida Bar member's staff email address, and you can just sign up for the quarterly newsletter. And again, that's a great way to continue to learn about the achievements of the Academy and to help us promote the good work of the Academy and why it is important to this bar. With that, are there any questions? Catherine.
Melanie, can you talk a little bit about what the content of each of those meetings are? So you said they have all these meetings all across the state. What does a typical meeting look like? What information are they learning?
Sure. So they're learning, I would say twofold. Really, it's number one, substantive information about the Florida Bar, and then two, leadership information about once you're, in a Florida Bar position, what could you be doing to be effective in that role? So I'll give you a couple of examples of each. So when you were learning about the Florida Bar, and this is something that you all should be prepared for the call, so to speak, but we have each section, we break it up, and so there's a Florida Bar 101 for about a half hour to an hour of each meeting where we have various committees and divisions of the Florida Bar come in and talk to the fellows about what their section or division does. And it's an opportunity for you to then, get additional members or talk about your projects or how the fellows could help you. So they're learning about the Florida Bar's structure. For instance, a lot of people don't really understand how it works in terms of the committees and the divisions and the senior board of governors. So they're getting a good overview of that. Again, kind of like with you all today, getting a picture of how the sausage is made. So there's a significant portion of the Academy that's spent on the Florida Bar. The second part is on leadership skills in general. So one of my favorite meetings is they do a whole meeting on communications and what can you do to be a more effective communicator as a leader? What is your communication style? How do you hold a press conference? That one I thought was really fascinating. If you're interested in getting elected to the bench, what's the step from transitioning from being an attorney to getting elected to the bench? how can I fundraise? All those types of skills and soft skills that we didn't necessarily learn in law school, and depending upon where you work, aren't necessarily getting the mentoring in the profession. Any additional questions? Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to present to you today and be here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and travel home safely.